Welcome to the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature top founders and entrepreneurs and share their inspiring stories. Now, let's get started with the show.
Matthew Connor here, host of the Cyber Business Podcast. Today, we are joined by Nagesh Anupindi, the founder and CEO of Apoorva. Nagesh, welcome to the show.
Hi, Matthew. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us today. And before we get too far in, a quick word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by cyberlinks.com. That's cyberlynx.com. Do you know if a hacker's in your system? Most people and most companies don't until it's too late and the hacker's already done damage. A hacker's job is to bypass your security, so companies need a way of knowing when someone's gotten past their security. That's where CyberLink's intrusion detection comes in. With our 24/7 security operations center, we use a combination of AI and cybersecurity technicians to see when a hacker's successfully bypassed your security. So if a bad guy gets past your security, we'll know right away and be able to kick them out. Find out more at cyberlinks.com. That's cyberlynx.com. And now back to our show. Nagesh, for those who aren't familiar, can you tell us about Apoorva?
Yeah, definitely. Apoorva, I started in 2001 right here in Denver, Colorado. My twins were born about 15 days after, and I've been running around between the Secretary of State and this, but I started it because I had a need to fix the data for a lot of our customers. Before I started Apoorva, I was building data warehouses for 5 years right in Colorado, where you have the father of the data warehouse, Bill Inman, lives right here in Colorado Springs, and I met him several times and learned a lot from him. So from those lessons, I started Apoorva to build data warehouses. The data warehouse requires a lot of data coming in from multiple systems, and as the saying goes, bad data in, bad data out. And one of the system is the one that's going to, I call it seeping in the sewage, is the bringing in the bad data, and then it spoils the entire data warehouse and makes the entire water bad. So people started asking us, can you fix the sewage, the system that it is coming from? So we actually started building the systems or rebuilding the systems, and those data started, we kept cleaning, etc. And so we also became systems developers. So over the time, fast forward 20 plus years later, we are a 90 employee company, and we build lots of SaaS systems for our customers. And in fact, we are called SaaS Rescue because we may not be the people who people come to build when they're starting. They come to us after they've gone through some development team that they found either through their brother-in-law or they found it on Googling somebody in India, and they come up with 5 development team and they launch something, and then we go from there. So we have been 20 plus years, 90 employees, building more than 500 systems so far. We are a SaaS development company.
I love it. So, if you check out your website, which is actually a really great website, I love your website. It kind of breaks everything down very clearly. One of the things that really strikes me is, as kind of unique and that you don't often see is the revenue sharing kind of model that you guys have. I think it's brilliant, and I know there's lots of good reasons behind it. But can you take us through that, like how you came up with this, how that works, the whole 9 yards?
Yeah, definitely. One of our friends actually started to help a customer who was in desperate need. One of our financial advisor here in Denver said he invested about $900,000 in a company in Salt Lake City, and me being the overactive guy, I said, "Who is it? Let me go." And I said, "Saturday morning." I said, "You know what? I always wanted to hike a small thing there in Salt Lake City." And I drove down on Saturday, did my hiking. Sunday morning, I sat in with this man and had a breakfast. And unfortunately for them, it was a situation where they had one customer, didn't pay them the large amount, and then development team got a wind of it, and they lost everybody like same day. And they had a lot of revenue, but they have no way to support. And it is a very serious system because it sends so many communications every day, and any hiccup, that means their company is dead. So when they brought me this, and they said they have no money to bring in other than the people that they had. And so I didn't know. I didn't know how to help them. And so I drove back, and on the way back, I thought about it like, well, they had some revenue, they had some expenses. How about if I ask them from day one, whatever your revenue is, if you could give me some part of it so that I can be assured to help you support it, I think there is a way we can find it, help. And then we started discussing about it, and then about 6 weeks later, they said, "Wow, I mean that is non-committing of excess capital on his side, but also ability to grow with each other because their system required an implementation cost that they eat.
Yep.
So for them, if they brought in any developers, they got to come up with that implementation cost also, which is about 5 to 10% for every of their development cost. It is very significant. So when our revenue share model came in, they really appreciated that there is no such implementation cost. So that means they can accelerate sales. Before, they couldn't sell to 10 people because they don't have money to invest in implementation costs. They were like, wow, this will help me protect in the emergency situation which is they're going through, but also ability to. So we just came up with that because we were trying to find ways to help that company, and they are still our customer. And then I think we have tripled their revenue so far.
Wow.
And that means we tripled our revenue too. But
Exactly.
it is,
Win-win.
yeah, it is a simple way of finding out, hey, customer who is in trouble, they came to us and we were like, yes, we want to do business with them. They're honest team and they have great clients. They already have a proven company that with a revenue model. They're not a startup. So it was a win-win. Yes, like you said, Matthew.
That's fantastic. Now, can I ask you, so if you're I'd like to, you know what, I want to dive into the revenue share, kind of further and give people kind of an idea of it. But let's take people through kind of, the process of how you rescue them. Like, so if I'm, if I've invested some money, I built my platform or my SaaS product,
Mhm.
who are the typical people that come to you for rescue? How does this happen? How do you work with them? What's this look like?
Yeah. So when then somebody starts either a great idea that they thought about, they got to build this next burrito delivery system, maybe whatever it
Yep.
could be. But they think about all the good things that they want, and then they put the pro forma in there and say this is the revenue that I'm going to get, and they look for a software development company. So usually, typically, you go to your friends and family and try to ask them like, hey, I know one guy, or I know a small development company. And then, or typically, it usually the people are always, one option that they explore is, how about if I go to one of these offshore development companies, India being one of the largest.
Yeah.
When they do that, they are basically trying to find out whose website is better and whose price is cheaper. But what they don't understand it is, who can build me a better foundation. Most of these investors or the founders don't know what questions to ask to build a better system. And what happens when you do not have it, they don't understand the consequences of it either. So they start with either very cost effective one, or the ones that is smallest, or build better PowerPoint, I would call it. And then what happens is, over the time, first things first, they miss the deadlines, guaranteed. I mean, 100% guaranteed they miss the deadlines. And
Yep.
then when they miss the deadline, because it is mostly time and materials point of view, that
Mhm.
means your budget is going over and over.
Yep.
So let's say that you thought about, hey, if I invest $1,000, I'm going to get $500 per year revenue. And now that $1,000 became 1,500, and you didn't get your first 500 that
Yep.
you thought you were going to get because you missed the time. So now you're $1,000 short.
Mhm.
So by hook or crook, you actually put the product out there, and let's say that you really got your next 500. But the problem is because you pushed it so fast, they build cracks in the foundation. So this development company builds enough cracks in the foundation unknowingly. Um, the customers that got onboarded usually suffer, and they go through lots of bugs and everything.
Yep.
And then you start seeing that attrition, that 500 becomes 400. What are you going to do at that point? Either you got to pour more money into this development company, not knowing whether they're the one who caused the foundation, or the founder caused the cracks in the foundation.
Right.
You go through the suffering, and then at one point you got to give up. And that's the reason those are the customers where we say we build systems with the foundation in mind, because our foundation was data. People misunderstand. Information system is not a computer system. It's a information system is built on top of information, which is data. So if you did not have the data correctly, then everything that you build, it's not React or Java or C#. It's the data that defines everything.
That's right.
So for us, anything data is our slogan. We build the foundation properly, and we go through I can go through those steps, but I wanted to pause here and see if you could add anything or ask question.
No, I think that's awesome. And so then do you guys, I get that rescue is a large part of it, but now what about those people who, haven't just run to say some offshore, cheap, inexpensive place? Do you also help people who are like, hey, I've got this great idea, I'd love to do this, and they hire you directly, for the development, or do you guys prefer focusing on being the superhero rescuers?
We actually have one customer right now who came with the idea to us. The number one qualification that we do is not whether the idea is good or not, because that's what everybody says, like, oh, this is a great idea. That's not the thing. I can assure you that somebody tomorrow is going to start a furniture business and succeed. Somebody tomorrow is going to start with an idea that never thought about and fail.
Yep.
The idea is not the thing, right? Execution. So we look for, is the owner really a business person or not? So that's the reason for me it's an advantage, because I have education from both sides, right? So I know technology to say whether what they're asking for, is it feasible or not. PhD in computer engineering. Those things are crystal clear in my mind. When somebody's talking to me, I got a buddy to developing idea. On the other side, I can ask them the questions about, hey, what does your pro forma looks like? I got MBA from Columbia to prove to them that their business model, their thing works or not. So I asked them enough questions to find out if the business has wings to fly. So we will take new startups, but as long as we know that the founder is, we don't need to teach them business.
You're right. Yeah,
exactly. They are the business people. Otherwise, I have done this enough mistakes in my life. I try to teach, and especially when you are in a crux mode, it is very losing money and all of that. Teaching business is very difficult to a founder.
It really is. It's very expensive.
and for us too.
That's great. Well, so let me ask you. So let's say that in these revenue sharing kind of models, what should somebody be looking at? Let's say I've got my SaaS service.
Mm-hmm.
We're making some money. We want to revamp things. There's some issues. We come to you and we're looking at a revenue share. What's that look like? I know it's very particular to each one, but if we're kind of like talking ballpark ideas, what's that look like?
Yeah. So revenue share is created. Profit share is usually seems to be the more fair, right? However, profit has another line item called expenses. What we find, the expenses is where the founders have misused in the past.
Yeah.
That means they they went and hired 15 developers that they didn't need,
Yep.
and they don't know how to hire them. So I didn't want to, and I didn't want to get into the expenses side of it. That's the reason I did the revenue share. So,
Yep.
but so to get you, can I get a specific number as an announcement for revenue share? Like, is it 1% or is it 35%? I cannot give that, because if somebody came to us and said, we are in a restaurant business and I want a point of sale that is custom for my own, I don't want to hire something else because I got 15 restaurants that are there. I am building a system that is based upon the revenue.
Yep.
However, profit margin in restaurant is less than 5%. If I ask them anything more than 2%, I am the reason I'm bringing them under. So I need to watch out for what, whereas if you're on a software built from scratch, and they're 60% profit margin, revenue share will be different. So that's the reason we vary based upon the industry, because each industry has a different number of profit margin, but we don't want to be part of the expenses. So that's the reason I fluctuate that. Did I answer your question, Matt?
You did perfectly, and that makes perfect sense. I mean, there's such a wide spectrum of business, businesses there. So yeah, whether it's perfect. I mean, you can't be like, yeah, we always take 30%. That doesn't make sense. Like it cannot be one size fits all here. That's great. And then so for those people who are looking for assistance, do you do things not revenue share? Can they just hire you guys directly and be like, hey, look, we need help. Let's say, we want to move our platform from let's say they're at let's say they're in Azure and they want to move to Amazon Web Services, and is that something, you guys are like, yeah, we can help you with that sort of stuff? Or where's the line for you guys?
Yeah, so we actually try not to do revenue share to begin with, because we wanted it to be an option for them, because it's possible that they have investors. Investors don't like another company taking away continuously, right? They are the ones, they invested to reap the rewards as it grows, and now I created a leakage from their point of view.
Yep.
As it grows, the growing leakage.
Yeah.
So in those situations, investors prefer a simple fixed fee, and then we actually do that. So they came to us, like one company came to us and they said, like, they already have 7 investors and the founder only owns about 17%. But they want us to fix it. And we looked at everything, and they had about 1,700 and plus bugs. Then they came to us and we said, we will guarantee in 3 months, reduce it by 90%. Bugs, guaranteed. Yes. And it's a fixed fee. So whether I used 1% or 50 people, the fee is same. So for them, it was actually nice, because for them, there is no overruns. And if I need to sometimes, change the foundation to fix the bug, I got to do it. I have a story for you. Like, I own a corner lot in the house. And one of the things that happened was 15 years ago, we asked them, like, hey, we want a walkway and I want a cement poured. But on the top, I wanted like a square lines, and so that, the water runs through and everything. So the guys poured the cement, but the guy who actually did the crack, the lining on it, just didn't do it right. So it's actually, the whole cracks was going like this, and it actually looked like a crack that was there instead of a design. So I told the owners, like, hey, this is a bug. This is a software bug. How do I fix it?
Yep.
There is no way to fix it other than take the entire cement out and re-pour it, just for changing the line, right? So that's what we do. And he did it, by the way. He was so nice enough. He took the entire cement out and re-poured it. When some bugs come in, the only way to fix them properly is change the foundation, which is change the data model and rewrite the entire store procedures or whatever business to the business layer and do that. So when we fix like that, the 1,700 bucks, suddenly one fix, changing at the foundation, brings it down to 1,400. But the existing developers are so scared to do that, right? Like,
Yep.
I don't know if I change the foundation, if I might hit a water pipe or whatever maybe. They are so afraid about things, and
Yep.
so they don't fix them. So we come in and fix those things for a fixed price if they need to. That's not a problem. But we take the whole chunk of it. Same way, they say another scenario is I have my people supporting. I don't have 1,700 bucks. My bucks are in control, but I don't have enough resources to go build my next version. Okay, the next version requires all these enhancements, and sometimes it even requires to be rebuilt on a new foundation. So in that scenario, I know what I'm looking at. I know what the additions that they want. I give them a fixed price and a fixed time frame too. So the initial problems that I said about running overtime, running budget, that don't happen with us because I mean we actually designed our D9 methodology. 9 phases of all of them starts with a D. I started that in 1998. I sat in front of a Thesaurus because at that time there is no internet. Actually, it's a book that I have. I opened up, came up with the 9 phases, 9 words that start with a D, and we've been using it since then. We actually have built a software called D9.software. All our clients get it as part of it for free for working with us.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so is that the D9 software, is that like planning software for them, or how's that work?
Yeah, it's a they log in and they get to see and every sprint what's happening, how many tickets are getting resolved, everything's, and they can move the things to the sprint and they can add the functionality
Nice.
that they want. Yeah, they get to see how any ticket that they submitted, how it is going from one D to the other. So yeah, it's very nice. And in fact, funny thing is that my D9 is actually also used by some plumbing companies. Don't develop software at all. They just love that for plumbing because it's so
Nice.
easy to understand.
I love it. So I gotta ask you, it seems like you guys are, kind of I'd say very on the high end of sort of the expertise and the dependability, and it's not the low end. We're gonna just get you some code and get you up and running, right? This is not the cheap offshore stuff that is gonna have all kinds of potentially have all kinds of issues, right?
Yeah, so we are very cost effective. I don't want them to think that these guys are expensive guys. We're actually very cost effective because we do fixed fee. So you don't even see okay, what's the hourly rate. Hourly rate game is actually is nonsensical to me. We try to
Nice.
do that. It doesn't add up because the motivation for the founder to make a business better versus the motivation for the development guy to make it go as long as it is. I'll give you an example. One time, one person came to me and said, I need this to be done in 3 months. And I looked at it and the work that there is so much. And so I gave them a fixed fee. Um, and then they asked me in the middle of it, can you convert it to time and materials because there is so much work you're doing? And we actually looked at it because for us, it's the same. We're not trying to make more money by fixed fee or revenue share, so or the hourly rate. And we looked at it and we were like, if I did the hourly, it'll actually cost you more and not guaranteed. So why would you even want to do that? So apparently somebody said, well, if I am hourly, I can squeeze you in and reduce the hourly rate and all of that. So then what happens on my side is, oh, that means we got to put more hours in. So you see how the game changes to invoice fighting, whether we work for 2 hours or 1.5 hours, and we're not talking about their revenue growth, their features and all of that. So it doesn't add up. So we don't even do that. So we are very cost effective from that way. However, the quality of it comes from a fundamental rule I have in my company. It goes back to, again, my kids, I have twin daughters. They went to, they both went to Ivy League, Cornell. They graduated now.
Nice.
One
Congratulations.
of them is now doing masters at UPenn, and the other one is at Harvard. But when they were in fourth grade, I actually looked through and then how they worked through because they went to the gifted and talented school, and they worked through, and then I became board of director for that school. Then I realized how a simple math questions differentiate a kid from going one way versus the other way. Simple things. So for fun, I actually gave the same exact test my daughters took on the fourth grade to all my employees at that time. And so like have fun and do it. And the scores came out, and I realized how why somebody stayed in testing and why somebody was not successful in testing and everything, like quality assurance testing. So from that day onwards, we actually massaged, and now we are much better. So we kind of have a score of, we got 50 questions, and we have a score of this, and our cutoff is, if I can say, 120 IQ. So we don't hire anybody less than that. And I'm not trying to be arrogant about it. The reason we need this is because we are a data company. The minimum skills that you must have is ability to think at least three dimensions.
Yep.
So for example, if you ask me, give me a sales report for somebody who bought from Colorado and who bought a bicycle, and then about this particular total invoice amount is greater than this. That is at least three dimensions of thinking. Yeah. Somebody who cannot think three dimensions cannot function in our company. Doesn't matter how good soft skills that they have, they cannot do that. So that's the reason we actually have that thing. Our quality is high because everyone in our company, including a salesperson that I hire, has to have that 120 IQ. And that's then great. The cost effectiveness comes from fixed fee. So we're not cheap, but we are a good quality.
That's fantastic. So you guys have several areas that you talk about on your website in terms of your services, right? So you've got your rescue and your rebuild, the cloud hosting and optimization. You got a payment solution, and then an insurance technology solution. That's about right?
Yes, that's right. The reason is because we got to get the ingredients, right? Yeah, so the other things that you're hearing are the ingredients that you need to build a SaaS system. So obviously, if you're a SaaS, you definitely need to get payment from your customers. So those payments cost you money, 2.9% minimum, right? Yep. So we actually have partnered with Priority Commerce, and we actually reduce the rate for the owners so that they get that out of the revenue, like $1,000, they're not getting more than 970. So if I can get them 980, that's awesome. So yep. So that's one side of it. The second side of it, some of these solutions, the customers that are getting launched have their customers paying them. So we're launching 500 customers. That means there are 500 merchants. Yep. Each merchant is getting revenue from their customers on our platform. Yep. So to unify it and to reduce their cost, we actually integrated with Apoorva Payments. Uses our payment gateway that we use from Priority Commerce, which is a publicly traded company. Yep. And then we have code, everything to do that. So we know how to launch merchants. We have automated ways to do those things. Yes. And on the other side, the cloud side of it is many SaaS companies that start with one Amazon server, but they don't have any fallback, so high availability and all of that. So if a server is down, they got to wait for the customers. But the moment you wanted to go to the high availability, you have increased your server cost 3 times. Yeah. So to help them with that, so I usually take the customers who are on Amazon or Azure and convert them into our own servers, which gives us both high availability as well as more power for almost same cost. So that's the reason I brought them in. It's not like I wanted to be in the server business. Again, this is all about the founders who have made some expensive decisions, yeah, to bring back to the normal so that they can actually continue making profits.
That's right. Well, let me ask you. So your cloud, hosting, when you say bring it onto your servers, do you guys, is that hosted there locally? Do you have like a data center and stuff, or is this like yeah?
Yeah. We don't own the data centers. We actually lease them from somebody.
Mhm.
And those data centers are actually geographically dispersed enough that if one server goes down and immediately, like within the milliseconds, the other one starts coming in. We have backups outside this at a third location as well. So yeah. And then uh, we have full-fledged managed services on top of that, MSPs.
Nice. So if somebody wanted to go from Amazon Web Services, let's say they've got, whatever, they've got a server or two going there, and they wanted to migrate over to you guys, what's that look like?
Um, let's say that you're in a web application and you have probably 96 gig RAM and 2 terabytes hard drive. Uh, we usually take that cost and then SQL Server license costs and etc. And then that probably goes for $4,000 a month. We convert that for almost 4,500 or so. We convert that, and the 96 becomes 128 or 256 gig RAM. 2 terabytes the SSD becomes 4 terabytes, and we same exact configuration also for 4,500. All of that will come through with a high availability. So
Wow.
so yeah, it is like, people see like, oh, wow, really, that is the reason that happens is because what founders don't understand is Amazon is a linear scale. So that means if I'm not, there's nothing wrong about Amazon, but they need to serve larger customers,
Yep.
not specific, needs. Whereas here you have niche needs. So a website or a web application requires a lot more CPU and less RAM. A data warehouse needs a lot more RAM and less CPU. Amazon, you cannot do that. Like I have customers, I have 1 terabyte RAM because I need to do so much of data processing, but at the end, the customer sees only small amount. So that means they only need small, like 52 CPU, that's it.
Yeah.
So we have very small CPU requirement, but 1 terabyte RAM. There is no way those people can afford, my customer can afford Amazon. There is no
No,
way.
that's
Yeah.
crazy. I could you imagine what that would cost?
Yeah,
That's insane.
16,000. We were like, we got them to what they need for 3,000, then 16,000 is what the bill was. There is no way that they could be served. So again, we started
That's cool.
solutions only to help founder, not because I thought about making money in cloud. It's like, if I don't have this ingredient, I cannot serve my founders better. So I built the ingredients that they need, not because they make me money.
See, I think this is really interesting because we work with a lot of small and medium-sized businesses, and a lot of them get into that sort of position. And I think the let's say the marketing is such that everybody thinks, well, you go Amazon, you go Azure, that's where you're going to get the most cost savings, and that's not true, right? I mean, even if that's, I mean, clearly when you can go to something like what you
So,
guys are
so,
doing, that's far
yeah,
more
so there is a
far better.
path, right? So the way, again, when we come to us, the cost is constant, right? It doesn't change. However, the people start with 2 CPUs and 16 gig. The cost is like this, but
Yeah.
the cost goes up. So what happens is their cost goes continuously ramps up, and our cost stays small and stays flat.
Yep.
So what happens is initially they think that we are expensive because, like, I don't need $3,000. Amazon gives me for 600. That's fine, but people who come to us have surpassed the 3,000, so we would be able to bring them back. So, but
Yeah, I love it.
initially, the developer says, "Oh, $600 server is good enough for me. I don't need to do all of this." But it is not easy to lift them and move to someplace else. Again, like I said initially, the founders don't understand all the things that cost them more later, and they initially go with cost-effective route and all of that, and that gets them to lots of cracks that they got to build later.
Yeah, I
For
love it. Well, let's talk about what is the ideal client look for like for you guys?
Open-minded, wants to grow the business, understands the business in itself, and more importantly, they must be subject matter expert. I mean, if you never delivered burrito by riding a bicycle and you wanted to do a burrito delivery system, there is a problem with that. You don't know a lot of logistics, right? So we want them to be at least have subject matter expertise as a founder or co-founder and etc. And then they're going through a growth cycle. They need help in growing. Even if they're not in trouble for me to rescue, they need help from us so that they don't get into trouble. So any company, SaaS company that has more than 500,000 in revenue, that is expecting to growth, either because they're troubled or they're looking to grow, is probably the ideal client for us.
That's perfect. I love it. And let me ask you before we wrap up here, can you tell everybody where they can find out more about you and Apoorva?
Yeah, Apoorva, APOORVA.com. Apoorva means actually is an unprecedented, never been before. That's what it is. Apoorva. Purva means history. A means not in the history. So we actually fit right well because this honest business, helping founders is the number one criteria for us, and be able to grow with them with a revenue share. That means we are an investor in a way, and a software technical company aligning our goals and our business with the goals of a founder is actually unprecedented. So even though Apoorva was named after a suggestion made by our guru, Master KPK, it is actually became true because we grew to be unprecedented.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, Nagesh, thank you so much for coming on, and I wish you the best of luck. And I think that what you guys are offering out there is really fits so many kind of growing SaaS companies that I think you're spot on. So wish you the best of luck with that.
Thank you for having me, Matthew.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Cyber Business Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.